Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. So my name is Aleezé, and I am presenting on mindfulness, but mostly just hoping that we can do some mindfulness practices together. And my sense is some of you already have some experience with meditation. So I'm only going to talk very briefly about what mindfulness is, and then I'll guide you in a practice. So mindfulness is really awareness, present moment awareness. I like that quote of, when we worry about the future, we're missing out on the present moment that we do have. So training our minds to be more in the present moment has been shown to be enormously helpful in reducing stress, improving mood, and all kinds of other physiological measures that researchers can actually observe. So training our minds through these practices has been shown to improve immune functioning, brain functioning, etc., etc. So mindfulness is both an innate capacity that we all have to be aware in the present, as well as a way to train our minds to be more present. So mindfulness practices are sort of the training that cultivate this awareness. Now, how we are aware, the attitude that we bring is really important. So we might sometimes be quite present, but the attitude might be one of, let's say, judgment, not liking, not wanting it to be this way. And that really doesn't support us so much as an attitude of openness, curiosity, non-judgment. Does this make sense, what mindfulness is? Just very briefly, any questions?
Makes sense.
Great, thank you for the feedback. So just to kind of put it in a nutshell, the definition of mindfulness that we use when we teach these mindfulness-based stress reduction programs is that it's the awareness that comes from paying attention in an intentional way, so on purpose, in the present moment, with an attitude of non-judgment, openness, curiosity. So I'm going to invite you to notice right now, are you aware in the present moment? And sometimes we are, and sometimes we're not. So for instance, if you are seated, are you aware that you're sitting? Do you feel the body in the chair or whatever posture you're in? And if you weren't aware a moment ago, you may notice that as soon as your attention is directed to it, it doesn't take that much effort to become aware. So before I guide you in a short practice, any questions?
No.
Okay, great. So as I'm going to guide you in a practice, you will notice your attention wanders off to thoughts about the past, maybe to worries about the future. The key is to not judge it. When you notice this, you're just noticing the mind's tendency, that tendency that we all have. And you just acknowledge and simply bring the attention back to wherever we happen to be in the practice. So I think I'll guide like a 10-minute practice. And for this practice, it's a body awareness practice. We're just going to move attention through the body. I'll guide you through every piece of it. So just coming into a comfortable posture, if you're not already seated, reclining, whatever posture supports you. And if it's comfortable, maybe just allowing the eyes to close. Otherwise, just a soft downward gaze. And again, really knowing you are here, seated or in whatever posture you're in, because you actually feel it in the body. So noticing the contact that the body's making with the support beneath you. And as much as possible in this moment, allowing yourself to be supported. Might notice a tendency we sometimes have to sort of hold ourselves up as if we don't quite trust the support beneath us. So as much as possible, trusting gravity to do its work of holding you. So you don't have to work so hard to hold yourself up. And simply feeling the breath coming and going. You've been breathing this whole time, so there's no extra effort that's required. With mindfulness, there is no right or wrong way to breathe. Just being aware of the sensations of breathing as the breath comes and goes by itself. And knowing that during this brief practice, if you come across something that feels too difficult to work with, maybe a really intense sensation or a difficult emotion, knowing you can always bring your attention back to the breath as a safe haven until you feel ready to join in the meditation again. And as you're ready, just bringing your attention to the top of the head, knowing that you can move your attention, just direct it and it'll move. It may not stay there, but it'll go there. And also knowing that there is no particular experience you need to have. So it's possible there's no sensation at the top of the head, and it's possible there's some sensation, maybe some pulsing or tingling, or some other sensation. And allowing the attention to move down to the region of the forehead, perhaps sensing warmth, coolness, sensations of tightness, ease, or something else happening here. Bringing attention to the area of the eyes, keeping in mind that the attitude with which we pay attention is one that's not judging and is curious and gentle. So simply noticing whatever it actually feels like right now in the eyes. Maybe there's some movement. Maybe even if your eyelids are closed, some sense of light coming in. Or perhaps there's some pressure, numbness, or some other sensation here. And if you notice the mind being pulled away by thoughts or sounds or something else, just acknowledge. No need to give yourself a hard time, but just very gently redirecting the attention back to the body, bringing the attention to the nose now and the nostrils. Maybe just feeling the subtle sensations of air moving in and out through the nostrils. With this practice, we're letting sensations be more in the foreground, but there's nothing you have to push away. So sounds can be allowed to come and go, thoughts can be allowed to come and go. Everything else, just a little more in the background. Feeling the lips, maybe the sensation of lip against lip if they're touching. And whatever the sensations are, you don't even need to have the words for it. But just allowing yourself the direct experience of felt sensations, aware of the mouth, the jaw, the joints of the jaw. And if you notice the jaw is tightly clenched, maybe just letting the lower jaw drop ever so slightly. And just bringing attention now to the whole region of the face, mouth, head. And if it feels right, inviting all the muscles to soften just a bit more here. Softening perhaps around the forehead and eyes, the jaw. Keeping in mind, we're just putting out an invitation. We're not demanding that anything has to change. Sometimes the body may take you up on it. And if it doesn't, just allowing it to be as it is. Bringing this curious, kind, gentle attention now down into the area of neck and shoulders. First, just sensing how it is without judging. And if judgments arise, simply seeing it for what it is. And then if it feels right, just extending this invitation for the muscles of the neck, shoulders, to relax just a bit more, if possible. Sensing into the arms, upper arms, forearms, however the arms are arranged. Maybe noticing contact, temperature, and also feeling into the hands, palms, backs of the hands, fingers, all the way to the fingertips. You might notice that when you bring your attention somewhere, sensations appear. So you may be a little more aware of sensations in the hands now. Remembering there is no right or wrong way for you to feel. Just being with whatever's here as much as possible with an attitude of non-judgment, gentleness, kindness. Allowing the attention to move back up through the arms, into the shoulders, and now into the area of the shoulder blades, the muscles here, the vertebrae, this region of the upper back. And moving the attention down the back, including mid-back, lower back, and just sensing the back as a whole. Perhaps if there's contact with the support beneath you, noticing what that feels like. And just opening to whatever the sensations are here. And if it feels right, just inviting the muscles of the back to relax, perhaps just a bit more. It doesn't matter if attention is pulled away thousands of times. Each time you notice, just appreciating that moment of awareness and very gently bringing the attention back. This act of bringing the attention back again and again, that is the training that strengthens our ability to be present. Allowing the attention to come around to the front of the chest now, around the collarbones, the rib cage and the muscles around the rib cage. Just feeling whatever is here for you to feel in this moment. Maybe the texture of clothing, maybe sensations of tightness or ease, pressure, numbness, perhaps a sense of openness or a sense of constriction. Maybe sensing the movement of the breath here, even if it's very subtle, the feeling of the rib cage expanding with the in-breath, that sense of the rib cage just releasing with the out-breath. With this practice, we're letting sensations in the body be a resting place, somewhere you can place the attention, knowing that you don't need a lot of effort. You don't have to try to concentrate very hard or try to exclude anything. So you can allow sounds, thoughts, mood states to all come and go. For now, all of that's a little more in the periphery, felt sensations in the body a little more in the center of the attention. Allowing the attention to move down to the area of the abdomen and just sensing however it is here. Perhaps the touch of clothing, maybe a sense of tightness or ease, maybe sensations associated with digestion, hunger, fullness, or something else happening here. Maybe also the sense of the breath here, how the belly rises with each in-breath, gently falls back with each out-breath. In this moment, there is nothing else you need to be doing. So really allowing yourself to be and resting in this awareness of being, supporting the attention by resting the attention on felt sensations. Right now, the rising and falling of the breath with each cycle of breathing, and just allowing the sounds to come and go. And if you're just joining in, we're in the middle of a guided meditation practice, so just following along as best as you can, sensing the region of the belly, and now bringing the attention down to the hips, the buttocks, this whole pelvic region, pelvic floor, and then allowing the attention to move into the legs, sensing into the upper legs, the fronts and backs of the thighs, feeling into the knees as if you were feeling them from within, the lower legs, and all the way into the feet, bringing the attention into the feet right now. Maybe noticing the contact with the ground if they are making contact, the feeling of shoes or socks, maybe a sense of warmth or coolness, and just allowing attention to rest on the sensations in the feet in this moment. And as you're ready, expanding the attention to sense the body as a whole, all the way from the soles of the feet to the top of the head, and just aware of felt sensations in the body, moment by moment, and feeling the body breathing. knowing that with mindfulness, no right or wrong way to breathe. Some of you may notice the breath more easily at the nostrils, the feeling of air moving in and out. Some of you may sense the breath more in the movement of the chest or the belly, or it may even be a sense of the whole body breathing. Just for a few moments, resting the attention on these sensations of breathing as the breath comes and goes by itself. And if you've been practicing with your eyes closed, if you care to, gently allowing the eyes to float open, becoming aware of seeing, and knowing that you can continue to sense the body even with eyes open, as much as possible without judgment, just however it is for you in this moment. And taking a moment to notice how you are right now, no matter what happened during the practice. And if you're willing to just share a word or two, how is it for you right now in this moment?
Calm.
Calm. Thank you. Anyone else? Any other experience?
I feel rested.
Rested. Thank you. So any questions about the practice or about what mindfulness is, or even about how it might support you just in your day-to-day life? Any questions or comments?
Okay, I'll shoot a question.
Sure.
So how does, if it does, how does mindfulness, quote unquote, differ from more traditional meditation?
Thank you for the question. So mindfulness is actually, as far as meditation goes, there's many forms of meditation. Mindfulness is one form of meditating. And it is actually quite traditional. It comes from thousands of years of tradition of practicing. And it's often referred to as sort of insight meditation, INSIGHT. So it's a practice of cultivating awareness so we can see more clearly how our patterns, for instance, of mind might generate more stress, right? So it does arise out of these ancient traditions. It may be different from some forms of meditation where we're cultivating more concentration practices. So if any of you are familiar with, say, TM, for instance, or other yoga forms of meditation, where we might just repeat a mantra, where we're really training our mind to concentrate on the mantra. With mindfulness, it's a little bit more cultivating an open awareness. So right now I'm aware, I'm speaking, I feel my body, I hear sounds. So it isn't that we're not stabilizing the mind, we are training the mind, but it's not concentrating for the sake of concentrating. Did that answer your question?
Yes. Thanks.
Sure. And, the fact that there are many different forms of meditation is really helpful because we're all different and different things will resonate with us. Even at different times in our life, it may be different practices that support us. So there's visualization practices, there's sort of practices where we might use sound. The beauty of something like mindfulness is you can be mindful of anything. And if you're choosing to use body sensations or the breath, it's very portable. You don't need to buy any special equipment, and it's always there. So it's helpful. The other thing about bringing attention to the body is the body is always in the present moment. So our minds might tend to hop into the future, worrying about what if, and we usually go to these catastrophic futures. And then to actually bring the attention back to how it is in the body right now can be quite helpful. And with practice, we can even learn to relate to what might be difficult in the body skillfully, so that even in the midst of difficulty, whether it's illness, injury, emotional discomfort, we can learn to find some ease in the midst of difficulty. And there are many, many resources to practice mindfulness. We do teach a program, but there's many resources freely available online. There's many apps and meditations on YouTube. So it's more and more easy to access these very ancient practices. So any other questions, comments?
I'm curious if people in the group have had prior experiences with mindfulness, or is this the first time they've actually gone through a guided exercise? Kind of just what people's experiences have been prior to today.
I downloaded an app, Headspace, and used it. I went through a period where I was waking up in the middle of the night and would not be able to go back to sleep, and my mind was jumping right to worst case scenarios. And it was a way of calming my mind, and I would do a meditation, maybe a 15-minute meditation, and it was a way that I was able to calm myself, bring myself kind of back to reality, and then be able to go back to sleep eventually. But it was very helpful, and I still go back to it at times. But when I'm having, especially those scan times and difficult times that we all go through, but it's been very helpful.
Thank you.
So if I have another minute, I'd love to teach a very short practice that is not a mindfulness practice per se. It's a relaxation practice. Would that be okay?
Definitely.
Okay. So the distinction between a mindfulness practice and a relaxation practice is that mindfulness is awareness. And, we're just aware of however things are. And often when we're able to bring this kind of curious, kind attention, we kind of can find a little more sense of ease, relaxation, calm, but not always, right? And sometimes we become aware that we're quite agitated, like 2 a.m. or whenever, it's that repetitive thought, or, we're about to go into the doctor's office or waiting to get a scan, where actually inclining our bodies and minds in the direction of more relaxation could be enormously helpful. So this relaxation practice is very, very simple. It's so simple it doesn't feel like a practice, but we've been teaching it for decades, and people still come back and say how powerful they found it. And it's a practice that uses the breath. So just put out there, what do you know about your breath? This is not a trick question. Literally, what do you know about the breath? Are you breathing now?
Yeah.
Right? And actually, the person who created this program called Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction, he has this saying that as long as we're breathing, there's more right with us than wrong with us, no matter what's wrong with us. So, the breath is always there as long as we're here. Do you have to think about the breath?
No.
Thank God, right? Given our mind's tendency to get distracted, the breath kind of takes care of itself. It's autonomic. Is it always the same?
No.
No.
So what is your breath like when you're anxious, worried?
Fast.
So it's fast, might be jagged, might be shallow. You might notice you're holding your breath, right? And what is your breath like when you're completely relaxed? This might require a little more imagination on our part, but let's imagine we're lying on a hammock, beautiful setting, not a care in the world. What would your breath be like?
Slow and deep.
So slow, deep, effortless. So the breath is like a mirror for our mind and body states. Sometimes we may not even realize we're upset until we notice, oh my God, I'm holding my breath, right? So it kind of mirrors it. But it's actually more than a mirror. There's this biofeedback loop. So when we change our breath, it physiologically changes our mind and body states because it's just part of the autonomic nervous system. So this is not something I would recommend trying, but if we all started doing fast, shallow breathing, we would feel quite anxious. And some of us might have full-blown panic attacks. And it's just kind of physiological response of the body. So we use the same physiological response, but to promote more relaxation, right? So our bodies are, anyway, I don't want to go into all of that and take up more time. So what we're going to use is what we call a relaxing sigh. Do you ever sigh?
Yeah.
When do you sigh? When do you find yourself sighing?
Frustration.
Right? When we're overwhelmed, frustrated, and we go, and the reason we do this is because it's the body's innate wisdom to move towards more balance. Because what happens when we sigh is it kind of down-regulates a little bit of that stress reactivity and promotes a little more of the relaxation. So rather than wait to sigh when we're frustrated and overwhelmed and just can't cope anymore, we can start to practice this throughout the day, kind of like taking our vitamins, right? And it's as simple as taking a sigh. So we just breathe in through the nose, open the mouth, let the air out with a gentle sigh. Are you willing to try this with me? So first, just notice, thank you. First, just notice, how is it right now in the body? How is it in the mind? And we'll take 3 relaxing sighs together. So just go at your own pace, just breathing in naturally through the nose, letting it out through the mouth with a gentle sigh. Feel free to make some sound, just naturally in through the nose, out through the mouth. And a third time. And check in again. Notice how it is after just taking 3 relaxing sighs. And if you're willing to share very briefly, did you notice any change? And if so, what was it?
I didn't catch a lot of change. I was pretty relaxed from the mindfulness.
Okay. So the base level.
But I do know what you mean.
Yeah, good. Thank you for sharing.
It does give a feeling of even more like I like it. It's very practical.
Right. Is anyone more anxious?
Nope.
Okay. Because sometimes that can happen. And, you know, we want to, with mindfulness, the beauty is we can meet whatever's happening. And usually, sometimes when people get anxious doing this practice, it's because of some thought like, am I doing it right? Because that kind of thought will definitely generate anxiety. So with a relaxing sigh, it really isn't, you can't do it wrong. The reason we breathe out through the mouth, it naturally expels more air. So the next in-breath just tends to be naturally a little deeper. So if the only thing you take away from this is the relaxing sighs, I think it would be fabulous if you could start to incorporate it into your day. Don't wait till you get really upset or worried. Just practice it throughout. And when people come to our classes, we give them stickers, because the hardest thing is to remember to do these practices, right? So placing little reminders for yourself can be very helpful. It doesn't take any time, really. And if you're in public, let's say you're in the doctor's waiting room and you're noticing you're getting anxious, you can do this completely silently. I just took a relaxing sigh. and no one really has to know, okay? But when you're by yourself, explore making some sound. I will tell you from my practice that it does feel good. So any questions before I hand it back to your facilitators?
Would you recommend that people practice this in moments when they aren't feeling overly anxious? I feel like people tend to think about this as an opportunity in the moment of when they're already kind of feeling a little riled up, but it's better to practice?
So it's very supportive to cultivate practices when we are not in acute stressful situations, right? So if we can practice this at times when we're calm, not anxious, we're more likely to remember that we have it as a tool when we do get very stressed and anxious. So we tell people as part of home practice, we have a program called Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction, which is an 8-week course, but part of home practice is 3 relaxing sighs anytime, anywhere throughout the day. You don't want to do too many at one time because you could get lightheaded, but 3 seems perfectly reasonable, even 1. It also acts as kind of like a pause, because sometimes, especially our mind's tendency to worry or ruminate has a snowball effect, and we just keep going from one thing to another. So even just pausing for one of these breaths can be very helpful in cutting through that momentum. So in answer to your questions, both. You can certainly use it when you're anxious as a way to kind of downregulate stress, but also to use it throughout your day. So hopefully we don't get to that full-blown feeling of overwhelm. But if we do, we don't judge ourselves.
Thank you.
Sure.
Does anyone else have any questions for Dr. Moss? All right. Well, thank you so much. This is an incredible practice for our group today, Dr. Moss. And I highly suggest you guys check out the website for the Myrna Brind Center and see if there's any practices on there or educational courses that you guys would be interested in utilizing as well. Thank you again, Dr. Moss, and we'll hope to have you back, one of these days as well if you're open to it.
Sure. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
I'll stop the recording now.